What's going on, everyone? JJ Zachariason here. Happy Halloween. Hope everyone is having a great morning. Let's do this start-sit Q&A. The big news so far this morning is that Calvin Ridley is a surprise inactive. Jamal Williams is inactive as well. With Calvin Ridley, I would say that Cordarrelle Patterson and Kyle Pitts get a pretty big bump from that. And then with Jamal Williams out, I think we're going to see rookie Jamar Jefferson on the field a little bit more. But DeAndre Swift obviously gets a bump as well with Jamal Williams out. And then the big news right now, this is going to be one of those risk tolerance type questions and situations. But Dak Prescott, we don't know if he's going to play tonight. If he were playing, he'd be a top 5 smash at the position in a really good game environment. But we can't really trust that right now. I'm leaning more towards Dak not playing tonight. It just doesn't make that much sense logically for Dallas to throw Dak Prescott onto the field, their franchise quarterback, for a game like this when they're just in decent shape as a team. But I would also not be playing Cooper Rush and waiting for that Monday night or for that Sunday night game rather. So right now, if you have Dak Prescott and Daniel Jones is on your waiver wire because he gets a good matchup against Kansas City on Monday night, I would go add Daniel Jones right now. Otherwise, just a blanket statement. I'm playing guys like Carson Wentz, obviously Kirk Cousins if you have him on the waiver wire, but a guy like Carson Wentz, I think you can play over him. The streamers like a Teddy Bridgewater. I'm playing Jameis Winston over Dak Prescott in the league this week. Those types of players where you get the mid-range QB2 options that are out there. I would play them over Dak this week just to play it a little bit safe. But let's get to these questions now. Start things off with PPR pick 2. Devontae Smith, have Hurts and Goddard in. Amari, Judy, or Higgins. I think of that group, I am going to go with I'm picking 2. If you already have Hurts and Goddard in, I think I'd say no to Devontae Smith. So let's go with Judy and Higgins and risk it with Jerry Judy. I think Devontae Smith is a better play over Jerry Judy, but just given this Philadelphia Eagles lineup that you got going here, I would go with Judy and T. Higgins for that question. Next one is 12-team PPR. Might have to drop a place kicker. Last player on the bench are Dawson Knox. Have Ertz now, Kadarius Toney, or Tony Pollard. I'm not sure what you're trying to ask here. Are you asking who you would drop? If you're asking you to drop, I would drop Knox there. Pick 2, T. Higgins, Emmanuel Sanders, Eli Mitchell. I like all 3 of these options this week. In a half PPR league, I'd probably go with Eli Mitchell. I think I'm going to play T. Higgins over Emmanuel Sanders, but I like Emmanuel Sanders as like a fringe top 25 option this week at wide receiver. Next one, full PPR, Boston Scott, Alex Collins, or Tony Pollard. I'm going to go with Alex Collins. Half PPR, Khalil Herbert, Mitchell, Waddle, Sterling Shepard, or Tony. Slight underdog. I don't think that you can play Sterling Shepard or Kadarius Toney when you have pretty legit options outside of them. I'm going to lean Elijah Mitchell here over Khalil Herbert. I think that the main reason I'm saying that is because we know exactly what Eli Mitchell's workload sort of looks like. He's the early down back in that backfield, probably going to see 15 to 17 touches on the ground, not a lot of work through the air. Khalil Herbert might have a better ceiling. But we don't know exactly how they might utilize Damian Williams, especially with Matt Nagy not coaching today. So I'm going to go with Eli Mitchell there. I think it's pretty close, though, between the 2 running backs. PPR flex, Pollard, Javonte, or Shenault. I'll probably go with Shenault there since it's a PPR league. Tight end streamer, Seals, Jones, Conklin, or Freiermuth. I love Pat Freiermuth today. Earlier this week on my podcast, I talked about Tyler Conklin being my favorite streamer. Without Dak Prescott in that game has a lower likelihood to shoot out. So I would lean Pat Freiermuth over Conklin, but I'm going to lean Ricky Seals-Jones over both of them because of his work without Logan Thomas in that lineup. Half PPR need a wide receiver and a flex. Claypool, Toney, Manny Sanders, Devontae Booker. I'd probably go with Manny Sanders and Devontae Booker. I think I'd go that direction. I'm not super into that Browns-Steelers game in terms of it shooting out. If we knew that Toney was going to play, I would probably say Toney. But I'm going to go with Manny Sanders and Devontae Booker. And then here's the thing, too. If you're an underdog going into Monday night, you could swap Devontae Booker, and Kadarius Toney's playing. You could swap Devontae Booker for Kadarius Toney and get a little bit more upside. So lock in Manny Sanders. I'd play Devontae Booker, and then if Toney goes and you're an underdog and you need a lot of points, I'd switch over to Toney because we obviously know he has a crazy ceiling. What's up, JJ? Full PPR, need upside. Sutton, Emmanuel Sanders, Devontae Smith, or Claypool, pick 2. I will go with Sutton and Devontae Smith, but I think it's close with all of them. I think they're all sort of in the same tier, so it's a really tough question. Next one, non-PPR, start 1, Javonte, David Johnson, Robbie Anderson. I think you got to go with Javonte here. I see the upside and the potential with David Johnson for sure, now that Mark Ingram's not in the picture. Robbie Anderson, maybe this is the week. I mean, he has the matchup. He has the peripherals for sure. I know that people are going to laugh at the idea of playing Robbie Anderson. I think he's actually a decent DFS option, especially in tournaments. But I think of those guys, I would go with Javonte Williams. Evan Ingram, CJ Uzomah, or Dan Arnold. I'm going to go with Evan Ingram. I think that he has the safest target share floor, but I don't mind the other 2 options as streamers this week. Pick 3, non-PPR, Sutton, Higgins, Herbert, Cooper, Woods, Emmanuel Sanders. I will go with, since this is a non-PPR league, I'll go Herbert, Woods, and Sutton. Full PPR, need a flex, Judy, Toney, Devontae Smith. So I said earlier I like Devontae Smith more than Judy straight up. I'm going to stick with that. I only answered Judy earlier on because the person had so many Eagles in their lineup. So I'm going to go with Devontae Smith here because we don't know if Toney's going to play. Half PPR, pick 2, Lockett, Alex Collins, Elijah Mitchell, David Johnson. I don't know how you can play Tyler Lockett right now. I'm benching Tyler Lockett where I have him, which is a lot of places. Without Russell Wilson, he's just not very good of an option. So this comes down to the 3 running backs. I think Elijah Mitchell's a lock, and then I'd probably go with Alex Collins and just kind of see how that Houston backfield shapes up. If Dak doesn't start, who would you drop to pick up a quarterback? Latavius, David Johnson, Bateman, or A.J. Dillon? I would drop Latavius of that group. Manny Sanders or Michael Pittman in full PPR. Love them both today, but I'm going to go with Pittman. Schultz or Higbee, also full PPR. I have this exact same dilemma, actually, and I'm going with Tyler Higbee. I think Tyler Higbee finds the end zone today. He's seen a ton of red zone work. Good matchup against Houston. He's seen a decent target share. He was a buy for me in my 15 transactions column and podcast this week. Let's go with Tyler Higbee. Vikings defense, if Dak sits, a viable option today. Yeah, I just don't know if you're going to have, the ability to make that choice because it's not like you really want to play either Kansas City or the Giants on Monday night. Non-PPR wide receiver from Manny Sanders, Allen Robinson, Marquez Callaway, Jacoby Myers. I'm going to go with Manny Sanders there. PPR flex, Shenault, McKissick, or Pollard need a floor. I think I would go with Shenault in a full PPR league. McKissick doesn't have the best matchup in the world. Pollard is interesting enough as like an RB3, but I'm going to go with Shenault if you need a floor. Full PPR, Boston Scott or Dearness Johnson. I don't think you can play Dearness Johnson with Nick Chubb back. So I'm going to go with Boston Scott. Great job, JJ. Thank you. I appreciate that. Appreciate all your help. Full PPR, pick 1 from Jacoby Myers or Chase Claypool or Tyler Lockett. Of that group, I'm going to go with Chase Claypool. Jacoby Myers, really tough matchup against the Chargers. They've been basically the best team against wide receivers this season when looking at adjusted fantasy points allowed. And then I talked about earlier, I don't know how you can trust Tyler Lockett, even though he has a good matchup on paper. It's just that Geno Smith is under center for them. 4 points per passing touchdown. Daniel Jones or Carson Wentz, thanks. Yeah, these are my 2 top streamers this week. I like both of them. I don't have a super strong preference, but I do think that I'm leaning Daniel Jones, but both of them are good options. Hey, JJ, I need to start another wide receiver alongside Diggs, half PPR between Cole Beasley, Jalen Waddle, Robbie Anderson, T.Y. Hilton, or Tyler Lockett. I'd probably go with Jalen Waddle there just because you have Diggs and, you're not starting 2 Bills wide receivers, even though both of them could be fine and go off. I actually don't mind Cole Beasley today either, but I'm going to go with Jalen Waddle. He should play a decent amount in the slot. And the Bills haven't been as good in the slot as they are against perimeter guys. All right, JJ, pick 2 players in half PPR, CeeDee Lamb, Chase Claypool, Toney, or no Russ Metcalf. Thanks. I would still probably go with Metcalf because we know that he can do what he did last week. And then I'm going to play CeeDee Lamb as well. I think that CeeDee Lamb is probably the lock. Even if Cooper Rush is the quarterback, he should still see some work. And then it's between Metcalf and Claypool. But Claypool is a little bit boomer bust right now too. So I'm just going to go with DK Metcalf. Which defense? Chicago, Seattle, Pittsburgh, or Philadelphia? Thank you. Let's go with Pittsburgh there. Hey, JJ, half PPR pick 2, Calvin Ridley. Calvin Ridley's not playing. So I know this question was probably asked before the news of Calvin Ridley sitting. But let's go with Emmanuel Sanders and Michael Pittman. That's an easy one. Zach Moss or Devontae Booker. I'd probably go Devontae Booker just because we know he's going to see a decent chunk of work there. But I do like Zach Moss a lot today. The logic is definitely there. Positive game script. They should be able to run the ball. Moss seeing the majority or the bigger share in that backfield compared to Devin Singletary. Should see goal line work. I like Zach Moss, but I'm going to go Devontae Booker, who's in just as good of a matchup and really a decent game environment and could see some work through the air. PPR need to sit two. Marvin Jones, Sutton, Hubbard, Gibson, Javonte Williams need upside, I believe. I'd sit Javonte Williams of that group, and I would probably sit either Gibson or Marvin Jones. If it's a full PPR league, I might honestly sit Gibson. I like Hubbard this week against Atlanta. Sutton's in a good spot. Marvin Jones is in a good spot. I think you can sit Gibson there. Bench one in full PPR, Dearness Johnson, Samaje Perine, Tony Pollard. I would bench Dearness Johnson there. Tua, Lawrence, or Geno, horrific, I know. I would go Trevor Lawrence there. I don't like Tua's matchup against Buffalo. I am forced to start him in a league this week, though, and it sucks just because of the Superflex league. Geno, a deep sleeper, a deep streamer this week, but Trevor Lawrence is in a pretty good spot against Seattle and a beatable defense. Full PPR, Mecole Hardman or Laviska Shenault. I'd probably go with Laviska Shenault in a full PPR league. If Dak doesn't play and we don't get a shootout potential, still going Cousins over Tannehill and Danny Dimes. Looking for upside. Yeah, I'd still probably go Cousins, but I think that you can make the argument for sure. I think if you don't want to go Cousins, if you'd rather go for upside as you're noting, I would probably go with Ryan Tannehill. I mean, that game could shoot out very easily. And Tennessee has seen a lot of their touchdowns go on the ground versus on the air this year, versus through the air this year. And so if that regresses a bit, Ryan Tannehill could just have a good day. Elijah Mitchell or Emmanuel Sanders in the flex, non-PPR. Non-PPR, I'm going Elijah Mitchell there. If it was full PPR, I think you have more of a question. Drop Miles Sanders to pick up Boston Scott or David Johnson. No, I would hold on to Miles Sanders. Start one full PPR, Kadarius Toney, Robert Woods, Jerry Jeudy, Tyler Boyd. I'd go Robert Woods there. PPR, Eckler, Herbert, or Darrell Williams. Concerned about Eckler? I'm not that concerned about Eckler. We actually had a situation earlier this year where Eckler didn't practice on Friday, and he had a great game. It might have been actually before that 3-touchdown game that he had against Cleveland. But yeah, I mean, Eckler, it was against Cleveland, I think. But yeah, Eckler's the guy that you would play there, although all three options are pretty decent options in a 12-ish team league. Half PPR flex, Manny Sanders, Michael Pittman, or Elijah Mitchell. I like Pittman over Sanders. If you need a floor, I'd probably say Elijah Mitchell, but I think Pittman is just the general better play. Again, the Mitchell stuff, what we saw last week, he's a good running back. I like Elijah Mitchell. I just think he's an RB2 without a ton of upside because of what he does through the air, which is not a lot. They're using JaMychal Hasty as the pass catching back in that backfield. PPR, I have Dalton Schultz, but no word on Dak. Should I play RSJ instead? Yeah, I'd probably just go with RSJ. Mike Gesicki or Dalton Schultz. I would go with Mike Gesicki over Dalton Schultz. I actually don't mind Gesicki. I mentioned earlier about the slot matchup. That's going to be how Miami has to attack Buffalo. And Dalton Schultz obviously not having Dak Prescott is a bump down, or potentially not having Dak Prescott. Pittsburgh or the Chargers defense. I think I'd probably go Pittsburgh just because that game has a bigger potential to be lower scoring. And then also Baker Mayfield being banged up. Jeudy or DJ Moore in full PPR. I'm going DJ Moore. I love DJ Moore against Atlanta. Start 2.5 PPR. T. Higgins, Emmanuel Sanders, Elijah Mitchell. I'm going to go with Elijah Mitchell and T. Higgins probably. 0.25 PPR. Pick one. P. Ryan, Antonio Gibson, McKissick, or Marvin Jones. I would go with Antonio Gibson. Half PPR. Start one at the flex. Hubbard, Claypool, Tony, or Gainwell. I'm going Hubbard. PPR, Dearness or Russell Gage. Let's go with Russell Gage there. Flex non-PPR, Darrell Williams, Hubbard, or Khalil Herbert. Thanks as always, JJ. You're welcome. I would go with, I guess I'm going to go with Darrell Williams there. Pick three, half PPR, Michael Pittman, Mike Williams. You're starting Mike Williams, Darrell Williams, and Keenan Allen. I guess I'm benching Pittman, but if you don't want to put all your eggs in that Chargers basket, I would bench Keenan Allen. Yeah, I mean, that's tough to have both Mike Williams and Keenan Allen. Half PPR, pick two, Gronk, Lockett, or Jerry Jeudy. It does sound like Gronk's probably going to play. I'd lean that he is going to play. Lockett or Jerry Jeudy. I'm benching Lockett there, I think, as long as Gronk goes and you get that word. Glad to have you back, JJ, for this Sunday. I'm glad to be back. I had A lot of traveling the last couple of days, so hopefully I'm not like that out of control bad today. Pick one PPR, Darrell Williams, Javonte Williams, or Antonio Gibson. I am going to go with Darrell Williams. PPR, Pittman or Javonte Williams. I'm going Pittman. Full PPR, start Melvin Gordon or Devin Singletary. I guess Melvin Gordon. PPR, pick one wide receiver in flex. Claypool, Devontae Smith, Beasley, Khalil Herbert, Eli Mitchell. Let's go with Devontae Smith and Elijah Mitchell, but I think that you can make the argument for Claypool with that second one. Danny Dimes or Wentz, talked about that one earlier. I lean Danny Dimes, but it's very, very close. Half PPR flex, Cortland Sutton, T. Higgins, or Darrell Williams. I think Williams is the safest play there of that group. T. Higgins seeing a lot of volume. I liked him a lot this week as a buy. And then Cortland Sutton, a great matchup, but I think Darrell Williams is probably the safest play. PPR, Shenault or Antonio Gibson. I think you got to go with Antonio Gibson still. 0.25 PPR, pick one, Boston Scott, Gibson, McKissick, or Marvin Jones. I think I already answered this one, and I think I went with Gibson. Full PPR, need wide receiver and flex, Devontae Smith, Tony Lockett, Odell, Antonio Gibson, Devontae Booker, Javonte Williams. You need one wide receiver and one flex. Okay, a wide receiver, I'm going to go Devontae Smith. We don't know if Tony's going to play or not. Can't play Lockett, can't play Odell. And then for flex, I'm going to go with Devontae Booker. Maybe that's a little bit of a risk, but let's go with Devontae Booker. Full PPR, pick three, Lockett, OBJ, Shenault, Gaskin, Zach Moss. I don't want to play those first two wide receivers at all. I'm going to go with the last three, I guess. Dak playing at 8 p.m. Do I go safe and start Baker or Geno? No, I still wouldn't play Baker or Geno because they could – honestly, this is what I would do is I would play either Cooper Rush or Dak Prescott because I think Cooper Rush has a similar range of outcomes as like a Geno Smith or Baker Mayfield anyway. Full PPR, Pittman or Devontae Smith or Lockett. I'm going to go with Pittman there. Hey, JJ, love the pod. Full PPR, my quarterback is Dak. My options are Tannehill, Daniel Jones, or Teddy. Thanks. I would go with Tannehill there. Matt Ryan or Teddy Two Gloves. Thanks, JJ, love the pod. I'm going to lean Bridgewater there with Calvin Ridley now sidelined. Hey, JJ, thanks for doing this today. No problem. Full PPR, flex, Claypool, Judy, Gainwell, Booker. Let's go with Booker for safety. Judy's interesting. I love Jerry Jeudy, man. I'm so glad that he's back. But I would go with Booker there. I just lost my spot, so I got to scroll back up. Give me just one moment. Okay. Higbee or Goddard? I might have missed some questions here. Higbee or Goddard? I'm going to go with Higbee over Goddard. Freiermuth or Ingram in standard? Let's go with Freiermuth in a standard league because I think he has more touchdown upside than Evan Ingram does. Chargers, Browns, Steelers, Bears defense. I'm going to go with the Steelers. Vikings D, a viable option if Dak sits. Yes, but I don't think we're going to have that information. I already answered that one earlier. PPR, I have Dak. Who should I start if we think that he doesn't play? Wentz, Jones, or Tannehill, I'd go Tanny. Gronk or Higbee, I'm going to go with Higbee. Half PPR, Claypool or David Johnson. Let's go with Claypool. Tight end options with Andrews on bye. Everett because of the matchup or Freiermuth because of potential increased volume. Yeah, I'm going to go with Freiermuth. I mean, matchups are something, don't get me wrong, but you got to lead with volume. You got to lead with offensive environment. I don't like Gerald Everett's offensive environment. Pat Freiermuth, it's better. I mean, it's not great, but his offensive environment's better. And I think that he's going to see a decent workload and see some work in the red zone. Would you play Pittman or Hubbard today? It depends if you need floor or ceiling. It depends if it's PPR. If it's a standard half PPR league, I'd go with Hubbard probably. If it's a full PPR league, I might lean Pittman. Kupp or Chase? Got to go Cooper Kupp. Philadelphia or the Falcons defense over the Browns. By the way, Kupp or Chase, get both of them in your lineup if that's a real question and not a DFS question. Philadelphia or Falcons defense over Browns. I think you can play Philly over Cleveland, but I think they're sort of in the same tier. Half point Moss or Judy. I tend to play a little bit riskier. I'd probably play Jerry Jeudy. But if you want to play it safe, go with Zach Moss. Brandon Ayuk or Nelson Aguilar in PPR. I mean, two guys I haven't thought a lot about this week, that's for sure. I'm going to go with Brandon Ayuk. PPR need to sit two. Marvin Jones, Sutton, Hubbard, Javonte. I answered this one earlier. I'm going to go to the next one. Antonio Gibson, Jerry Jeudy, or Tony in full PPR. Thanks for the help. I will go with full PPR. I might go with Jerry Jeudy. Again, I played a little bit riskier than some people. I think Antonio Gibson is the safest play. But in a full PPR league, I think Jerry Jeudy is still going to see 5 or 6 catches today. Half PPR tight end bonus league. I have Noah Fant versus Pat Freiermuth with Jeudy back. Not sure. Yeah, I would still go with Noah Fant. PPR, I'm the underdog in my matchup. Pick 2, Sutton, Claypool, and Tony. I think you have to go with Sutton and Claypool. Damian Harris, running back, or Sutton, wide receiver for flex PPR. In a PPR league, I think that you can go with Sutton. But I don't mind Damian Harris. My fear with Damian Harris is that game script gets away from him. Zach Moss or Emmanuel Sanders in standard. I'm going to go with Emmanuel Sanders. Full PPR sit CeeDee Lamb for Claypool or Devontae Smith if Dak sits. We don't know if Dak is going to sit. So what we're working with is, do you play Devontae Smith and Chase Claypool over CeeDee Lamb? I mean, it depends on your risk tolerance. I think that they're all sort of in the same tier at this point, assuming that Dak doesn't play. So if you want to go with Claypool and Devontae Smith, I think it's totally fine. Half PPR, P. Ryan, Alex Collins, David Johnson. Thanks, JJ. I'd go with Alex Collins. Half PPR, flex, Tony or Judy, both off injury. Yeah, we don't know for sure, though, with Kadarius Toney, whereas it sounds like Jerry Judy is going to go. I know Kadarius Toney practiced on Friday. That's a good sign, but we don't know for sure. So I'm just going to go with Jerry Judy and just play it a little bit safer. Standard League start 2, Slayton, Gaskin, Dearness Johnson. I'm going to go with the first 2. Higbee over Seals Jones. Yes, I would play Higbee over Seals Jones. Robert Woods, Devontae Smith, or Devontae Booker. Let's go with Robert Woods. Half PPR pick 2, Devontae Smith, Claypool, Tony, or Judy. I am not playing the injured guys. PPR, Judy, Sterling Shepard, or Tony. Got to go with Judy. If he plays, if he doesn't end up playing, then you can pivot and hope that one of the two play tomorrow night. Half PPR, need to start 2 of these running backs. Darrell Williams versus the New York Giants. Eli Mitchell versus Chicago. Antonio Gibson versus Denver. I would start the first 2. Pittman or Manny over Amari tonight with Cooper Rush. I would play Pittman over him. Yeah, I think Pittman is, even with Dak, it's close. So I would just go with Pittman. Tony is expected to play though, right? Yeah, I mean, he's expected, but I'm just saying that he's been injured. He did practice on Friday. We just don't know for sure. He's still questionable. You don't know with 100% certainty. That's all I'm saying. And even still, even if he plays, yes, I would expect him to have a good game, be a wide receiver too from a ranking standpoint. But some of the other options that people are throwing out there versus Tony are pretty good. Like if it's Russell Gage versus Kadarius Toney, I would just risk it and play Kadarius Toney. Darius Slayton or Quez Watkins in full PPR. I'm going Darius Slayton. Shift from Schultz to Ricky Seals-Jones, RSG. I'm assuming that's RSJ. Since Dak is likely out, I think that's fine. Half PPR flex spot, Pittman or Hubbard. I think I answered this one earlier. I'm going Hubbard. Pick 3 and half PPR, Michael Pittman. I answered that one earlier. Gage, Pollard, Mike White, or Cooper Rush. Seriously. We don't know if Cooper Rush is going to play. I'd probably go with Mike White in that super flex spot. Half PPR, pick 2, need upside, Amari Cooper, Devontae Smith, Emmanuel Sanders, or Marvin Jones. Need some upside, I would go with Devontae Smith and Emmanuel Sanders. Half PPR, need a running back 2 and a flex, Javonte Williams, Claypool, Higgins, Carter. I would go with Javonte and Higgins. Hey, JJ, half PPR, Claypool or Marvin Jones. I think I go Marvin Jones. PPR league, Cole Beasley or Jerry Judy. I would go with Judy, I think. Start 1 at the flex in PPR, Emmanuel Sanders or Patterson. I'm going Patterson. Patterson's in a great spot. Play Pittsburgh just because of the Calvin Ridley injury. Or not injury, the fact that he's sitting out. Play Pittsburgh defense or drop them for Denver. Just play Pittsburgh. They're fine. Half PPR, Jacoby Myers, Javonte Williams, or Brandon Cooks. Already playing Judy, afraid of the low over-under and putting too much stock into it. Afraid of Ramsey, Myers, et cetera, et cetera. Okay. Half PPR, Jacoby Myers, Javonte Williams, or Brandon Cooks. So I am going to go with Brandon Cooks there. Lockett or Jacoby in half PPR. I will go with, I guess Jacoby, but I don't know, man. I don't have a strong lean in that one. Lockett or Nico Collins. I'm going to go with Lockett. Half PPR start 2, Waddle, Damian Harris, Chuba Hubbard. I'm going to go with Waddle and Hubbard. Schultz or Ingram at tight end. I think you can go Ingram to play it safe if you want to. But the nice part is you can play Schultz if Dak goes. And then if Dak doesn't, Ingram plays on Monday night, so you can just play Ingram. Half PPR, 2 of 3, Elijah Mitchell, Khalil Herbert, Darrell Williams. I am going to go with Eli Mitchell and Darrell Williams. Half point PPR, Kupp or Jamar Chase. I've answered this one already, Jeff. I'm going with Kupp over Jamar Chase. Full PPR, flex, Jacoby Myers, Devin Singletary, Samaje Perine. Full PPR, I'm going to go with Jacoby Myers there. Ingram or Freiermuth. I think I'm leaning Freiermuth now that we have more information about Eric Ebron not playing. Daniel Jones or Matt Ryan, I'm going Daniel Jones. Matt Ryan or Wentz, I'm going Carson Wentz. Tannehill or Wentz, I'm going Tannehill. Callaway, Boston Scott, or Tony Pollard in PPR. Full PPR, I'll go with the wide receiver. I'll go with Callaway. PPR, Khalil Herbert or Kadarius Toney. Slayton as a backup. So if you have Slayton as a backup, I can understand going with Kadarius Toney in a full PPR league. I think Herbert is safer. I have Herbert and Toney in a league actually, and I'm playing Herbert over Toney, but I'm also a favorite. I feel good about the matchup in general. It's a full PPR league as well. So it depends on where you're at. The fact that you have Slayton as a backup, it makes me want to say to go Toney. Full PPR rank Higgins, Toney, assuming he plays Sutton or Judy. I think it's in that order. Start one in PPR, Lamb or Emmanuel Sanders. I'd probably still go Lamb. Darrell Williams or Chuba Hubbard. It's close. Don't have a strong preference. I think Chuba is probably the play. Love you, JJ. I love you, Bryan. Stacked at wide receiver in a PPR league. Need to activate Jerry Jeudy off IR. Drop Bateman, Toney, or Dearness Johnson. Definitely Dearness Johnson. Even though you're stacked at wide receiver, you got to keep the value on your team. You could trade Bateman or Toney for a much better running back than Dearness Johnson. Jeudy or Devontae Smith in half PPR. I'm going Devontae Smith. PPR, Tannehill, Wentz, or Jones, assuming Dak is out. I love that it's PPR, thinking that one of these guys are going to catch a pass. I'm going to go with Ryan Tannehill there. Listen to all your podcasts. JJ, you do a great job. Thanks, Andy. Appreciate it. Sanders or Mitchell in full PPR flex. I think it's about even. If you need a floor, I'd go with Mitchell. Sanders is more of the ceiling because of the big play potential. Miami gives up a lot of big plays as well. I'm assuming this is Emmanuel Sanders for the record. And then Everett or Freiermuth to stream at tight end. I would go with Freiermuth over Gerald Everett. I got 5 more minutes to go. Jerry Jeudy or Emmanuel Sanders in half PPR. I'm going Emmanuel Sanders. Start sick Khalif Raymond at wide receiver. It depends who you'd be playing Khalif Raymond over. 2 quarterback league, Dak or Cooper or Bridgewater. I'm assuming this is Dak or Cooper Rush versus Bridgewater. I would just play Bridgewater because I think Bridgewater's in a decent spot this week anyway. So I would go that route because Cooper Rush could, maybe he surprises, but Cooper Rush could also score like 5 fantasy points. Half PPR, P. Ryan, Alex Collins, or David Johnson. Thanks, JJ. I would go with Alex Collins. Choose 2, Kadarius Toney, Devontae Smith, Antonio Gibson in non-PPR. I think you have to bench Toney just because you don't know whether he's going to play or not. It's a non-PPR league as well. Pick 2 PPR, Pittman Jr., Robert Woods, or Kadari. I'm assuming that's Kadarius Toney. Let's just go with the first 2. Darrell Williams or Khalil Herbert in half PPR. I'm going Darrell Williams. Elijah Mitchell, Javonte Williams, or Brandon Cooks. I don't know why I was about to say Boston Scott. Brandon Cooks in full PPR. I'm probably going to go Eli Mitchell, but I think it's close between him and Cooks. Full PPR, Lockett, Tyler Boyd, or Jarvis Landry. Let's go with Jarvis Landry there. Hubbard or Gaskin. I'm going Hubbard. 2 from Woods, Chenault, Claypool, Lamb, assuming no Dak, please. Thanks for answering. I'm going Woods and Claypool. Matt Ryan or Danny Dimes. I'm going to go with Danny Dimes. I have Mike Williams, Pittman, Devontae Smith, and Deontay Johnson, 1 receiver to sit this week. Man, I'd sit Devontae Smith, I guess, because I love Pittman's spot, love Mike Williams. Deontay Johnson's a beast. I think you got to sit Devontae Smith. Hubbard or Thielen in half PPR. Probably going Hubbard as just a safer option. RSJ or Conklin. I'm going RSJ. Collins or Booker. I saw Collins. I couldn't think of who it was. I'm going Booker over Alex Collins. Highest ceiling this week, Lawrence, Bridgewater, or Winston. Highest ceiling, I'd say Winston probably just because of the offense he's facing and the way that the Tampa Bay secondary has performed at times this year. Half PPR flex, Zach Mott's or Robert Woods. I'm going to go with Robert Woods there. High need 2 in PPR, Sutton, Higgins, Damian Harris, or Eli Mitchell. And full PPR, I would probably go with the wide receivers. Full PPR flex, Manny Sanders or Devontae Booker. Full PPR, I think I'm leaning Manny Sanders there. Claypool or Toney in PPR have Slayton to pivot if Toney is out. Then, yeah, I would probably just go that route and go with the Giants wide receivers. Pick 2 in full PPR, Robert Woods, Mike Williams, Devontae Smith. I'm going to go with the first 2. Jeudy or wait on Shepard. I would just play Jerry Jeudy. Seals Jones or Dan Arnold. I'd play Seals Jones. Pick 1 in full PPR, Dearness Johnson, David Johnson, Brandon Bolden, Alex Collins. I'd go Alex Collins there. Khalif Raymond or Robert Woods. I'm going Robert Woods. Matt Ryan or Ryan Tannehill. I'm going with Ryan Tannehill. Jacoby Myers versus David Johnson. I'm going to go with probably Jacoby Myers. Where does Toney move for you if he becomes clear he will play? He's in wide receiver 2 territory. Full PPR, Gibson or Jeudy in my flex. I think I would go with Gibson to play it safe with Jeudy coming off the injury, but if you need more upside, go with Jeudy. Cash game, Stafford or Allen. I think Allen's a play. Better rest of season outlook in PPR, KJ Osborne, Marquez Callaway, and I just lost that question. Sorry about that. You can hit me up on Twitter with that question. Just skip forward. Lockett or Landry? I'm going Landry. Half PPR, Collins or Gainwell? Probably go with Collins, just because we don't know exactly how that backfield is going to be split. Welcome back. Gaskin or Hubbard in standard? I'm going Hubbard. Need to in PPR, Sutton, Higgins, Damian Harris, or Elijah Mitchell. I think I answered this one earlier. I'm going with the wide receivers. Gimpy Gibson or Tyler Lockett? I'd go with Gimpy Gibson. It sounds like he's healthier than he's been, actually. Mitchell, 49ers, or Carter from the Jets? We're going Mitchell. Dallas defense or Denver defense? Let's go with Denver. Hubbard or Thielen? I answered that one. Let's see. Pick 3. T.Y. Hilton, Marquez Callaway, Darnell Mooney, Alex Collins. I'm going Callaway, Collins, and I am throwing a dart with the final 2. Let's go with that. Broncos, Eagles, or Bears defense? I will go with the Eagles, but I say that not super confidently. Lockett or Gibson, please. I'd go Gibson. Pippen or Khalil Herbert in half PPR? I think that's very, very close. If you need floor, I'd go Herbert. Ceiling, Michael Pittman. That's going to do it today, though. We got Liv and Bryan hopping on to talk a little sports betting and talking about this slate a little bit more. What's going on, guys? Good to see you.
Good to see you.
That will be it for me. I'm going to go rest a little bit, and you guys enjoy your Sunday.
You as well.
Yep. All right, Liv, we are live.
How are you?
Doing well. Ready for this week of NFL games, although I'm not going to lie to you. I was kind of looking through the slate, and I was like, there's not a lot of games here that I want to watch from end to end.
I'm right there with you. And actually, I'm headed to a Broncos game today. This is the first Broncos game I've been to all season. And of course, I'm telling you, this is like the 1 week in Colorado where it's starting to get cold, not just chilly, cold. And of course, my first Broncos game that I am attending, it's going to be freezing. So hence the turtleneck. I've got like 2 pairs of pants on right now because as soon as we're done with this, I'm about to go sit and be miserably cold for half the day. But I'm with you. Some of these games, I'm actually riding with the dogs today. My 3 best bets are all either I have 2 dogs to cover and I have 1 dog to win outright, actually. And I might surprise people with the dog that I like to win outright today because they are the only winless team right now. So, but yeah, these games, this slate is interesting. I think there's going to be a lot of things that happen that maybe people don't expect. This slate definitely made me nervous, but when you do this for a living, you got to look at the slate, figure out what you like, and just roll with it. So that's exactly what I'm doing today.
And to your point, earlier this week, you did have some leans.
I did.
Check that out before we got on. Let's actually get into that a little bit because you had a Detroit Lions money line, and I believe that's probably the winless team you're talking about right now. But Detroit Lions are playing the Philadelphia Eagles. Let's pull that up so that we could see sort of what the spread is there. Eagles -3.5 right now on Fanduel on the sportsbook. Over under 48.5. So you're leaning Lions, and
I am.
Yeah. So let's get into it. Why is that?
Let me start by saying this Lions team is obviously very desperate for a win here. But not just that. I would argue, and maybe it's a hot take, but I would argue that this Lions team is much more capable than their record shows. They were really hanging with this Rams team last week. And I would argue that the Rams and the Eagles are not even close to being in the same category of talent whatsoever. So I'm really excited to watch this Lions team, but I don't trust the Eagles with my money, to be completely honest with you, whatsoever. And like I said, this Lions team has been hanging with teams that are far more talented than this Eagles team. I think they're desperate for a win here. I really like them on the money line. I think the value is great. Right now it's sitting at +148 odds, I believe, on the Fanduel Sportsbook. So if there's a team that the Lions are going to beat, in my opinion, it's going to be a team like the Eagles, who you never know what kind of team you're going to get you never know what you're going to get from this Eagles team. Number one. Number two, not sure how much I trust Jalen Hurts as a QB. And as poor as Jared Goff has been so far, he's still a veteran. So I really just don't trust Jalen Hurts with my money. It sucks to say that because I was really excited about this Eagles team when the year first started and when the season first began. But yeah, I'm riding with the Lions. +148. I like the odds. I think the value is great. So if they're going to get a win, it's going to be against a team like the Eagles. So I'm riding with it.
I mean, to your point, the sportsbook right now, Jared Goff -120 to get more passing yards than Jalen Hurts. I mean, we know that Jalen Hurts is obviously going to run a lot, and he's probably going to have to, in this game. Where else are we looking on the slate right now that has piqued your interest? I know you had a Saints point also.
I did.
A Saints Bucks point.
You'd think that I'd learn my lesson because last week I took the Bears to cover and Tom Brady basically put his middle finger in my face and said, try again, which you'd think I'd learn to stop fading Tom Brady. But my thought process behind this is Jameis Winston and this Saints team seem to love to be underestimated. They are 2-0 outright as the underdog, and they're going up against a Bucs team who was 0-3 against the spread when on the road.
Right.
I know that the Saints are coming off of a shorter week, but I like the Saints team to at least keep the game close within a field goal. Not saying they went outright. They could, absolutely. And this Bucs team to me has been interesting from a betting perspective because the games that you don't expect a blowout, you get a blowout, and vice versa. I think we saw that when we had the primetime game against the Patriots when Tom Brady was going back home and everyone thought that it was going to be this crazy game and he was just going to go off, and he didn't. It was a very low-scoring matchup. Granted, there was some rain and weather, but this Bucs team is interesting to me. So I like the Saints. They seem to love to be underestimated, and they are the underdog in this one. They're at home. And this Bucs team doesn't travel well, especially against the spread. So I'm taking the Saints +4. And it originally was at +5 earlier this week, which was my lean. Now it's at +4, and I'm still going to ride with it. I like the Saints today to cover.
Saints +4 and +168 on the money line, if y'all are going to get into that. So yeah, I mean, look, again, not really an inspiring slate. I was also intrigued by Broncos versus Washington because Jerry Jeudy is coming back this week. Washington famously allowing 300 passing yards per game. They have the worst pass defense in the NFL. I mean, you're going there, so we might as well get into that too. Teddy Bridgewater, are we expecting a big game with Jerry Jeudy coming back and he's going against, the worst passing defense in the NFL this week?
Yeah, I mean, Jerry Jeudy coming back is huge for this Broncos team. I think every Broncos fan in the nation was pretty distraught when he was injured and was out. I got to be honest with you. This Broncos team has put me on an emotional roller coaster that I have officially jumped off of. I can't handle it anymore. It stresses me out to no end. Obviously, this team started off 3-0, which was super exciting. We all kind of knew, though, the teams that they had beaten were 3 of the worst teams in the NFL, so you couldn't really – there wasn't a lot of leverage there in terms of having an undefeated team. I love Teddy Bridgewater. I really do. I think he's an electric quarterback. He's really fun to watch. However, he's been throwing interceptions lately. He wasn't really doing that at the beginning of the season. So this Broncos team definitely makes me nervous. They definitely make me sweat it out. But like you said, going up against such a poor pass defense, I think Teddy Bridgewater should definitely shine, especially when he's getting one of his rock stars back in Jerry Jeudy. So I like the Broncos here. Did I make it one of my best bets? No, I did not, because it stresses me out. However, I do like them today, and I think that they will win and cover, and it'll be a very fun game. But I didn't want to make it my best bet because I typically do that, and then I get my heart broken. So I stayed away.
Yeah, and I mean, look, I'm with you. I'm expecting more of the same. Just looking at what else we have here, and the bigger spreads always scare me. I tend to stay away from those, but Dolphins, Bills, I mean, 14.5 Dolphins are getting here, and I still don't feel great that they're going to cover it because Tua Tagovailoa has been really struck. I mean, he was injured again, which is, I mean, that's part of the other issue with him, right? But he finally just came back and has not really been playing that well. And then you have the Buffalo Bills, who have been steamrolling everybody, and Josh Allen is one of the most expensive plays, I think, out of any player, period, and for good reason. So, I mean, plus 750 Dolphins money line. If you're really feeling bold, you figure they might have to get on track at some point, but I don't think it's going to be against the Bills. Liv, I don't think that you're going to disagree with me there.
Yeah, no, I'm not. But I'm with you. I do hate double-digit spreads. I really do, which was kind of why that was half the reason I took the Bears to cover against the Bucs. Games like that, it's double-digit spreads just always make me nervous. I always think it's too many points. But it's tough in this situation because the Dolphins have been kind of a train wreck. They got Tua back, but it didn't really seem to do as much as I think we thought it would. I think this Dolphins team is kind of like the Lions in the sense that they're better than their record. I really believe that. I think this Dolphins team is much stronger than their record. However, I don't know if I would choose this week to have them start getting their fire back when they're going up against the Bills, but maybe next week. I don't know if I would take it this week, but yeah, double-digit spreads I typically stay away from just because you never know what you're going to get. So I typically try to steer clear of those ones.
Panthers Falcons. Calvin Ridley, personal reasons, he's not going to play. That was a big story. That we just heard about before. Adam Schefter, I believe, reported it. Right now, plus 110 on that money line for the Panthers, plus 2.5 for the Panthers on the spread, and the over/under is 46.5. I don't know how you're feeling about this one, but I mean, with Calvin Ridley out, are we expecting this to sort of swing this big one way or the other necessarily? Because I mean, look, this is a big part of the Falcons offense, but the Panthers also haven't really looked that good after they started the season, I believe 3-0. So, and they just lost to the Giants. So I'm not sure what we're expecting out of them.
Yeah, with this Panthers team, from a betting perspective, they're a liability. They are. They have burned so many parlays in the past 3 weeks. They have hurt so many people's feelings from a betting perspective. I tweeted it last week after they played, and I said, at this point, if you're continuing to bet on the Panthers, either against them or for them or whatever it may be, you just like to hurt your own feelings. I mean, this team is so unpredictable. And of course, it's like we've heard this all season long. They're a different team without Christian McCaffrey. Okay. Well, then if that's the case, stay away from them until you have a healthy Christian McCaffrey. I just don't feel great about this Panthers team. I won't put my money on them for the rest of the season. They have proven time and time again that they don't. Their consistency is not there, and it makes it really hard to try to figure out how they're going to perform any given week against any given team. So I think they're a liability. I think if you bet on the Panthers right now, you just are sabotaging. It's self-sabotage at this point.
I mean, as someone in the New York market, I've seen too many Sam Darnold games. And I will say, like, I mean, the Jets and the Bengals, we could get into that momentarily, but as far as it goes with the Sam Darnold experience, it's kind of like any Jets quarterback experience. So I'm not entirely surprised at what's going on right now. And I was going to ask, I don't know what a Sam Darnold turnaround looks like, but if you're the Panthers, I'm not sure what you're hoping for at this point now. And I know in terms of your money, yeah, I'm with you. Panthers, I'm not really trying to spend my money on them.
No.
Let's actually go, staying with the 1:00 games, let's actually go to Bengals and Jets, because right now, plus 11.5 for the Jets, which sounds about right. I mean, as someone born and raised in New York City, you're used to this. You're used to the Jets getting plus whatever the case may be. And it's plus 430 on the money line. Obviously, we're expecting the Bengals and Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase to just throw the ball all over them. So where are we at, Liv? Tell me, do we expect just the Bengals to just cover this and just, be done with it?
There's a little piece of my gut that tells me we could get a sneaky cover from the Jets here, which is why I stayed away from this game. For whatever reason, I don't love that number. Again, the Jets are the Jets, so not surprised by the number whatsoever. But there's a part of me that's like, I don't know. That's kind of a big spread for this Bengals team who, yes, has looked really great, but it's taken them some time to get here. They're not a team that just came out and started going off. I've really loved Joe Burrow this year, and it's really hard to fade this team, especially after the performance we saw from Burrow and Chase. They're a pretty dynamic duo, and it's hard to want to fade them right now, but something about this number feels a little too big to me, and I told myself to stay away. Sometimes with betting, you've got this gut feeling, and you're like, I better not touch this one. And I kind of had that feeling with this game, so I decided to stay away from it. But obviously, this Bengals team is far more talented than this Jets team. There's no reason that the Bengals should lose this game whatsoever. For whatever reason, that 10.5 point spread just makes me nervous. So I actually stayed away from this one.
Sorry about that. I'm totally with you. I think that right now, the Bengals, they look really good, surprisingly, over the last couple of weeks. And I haven't really expected that. I should have, because, I tend to, just in general with athletes, and me, I'm more of a basketball guy, so I'm going to look at this from a basketball perspective. Kevin Durant, for example, when he tore his Achilles, and we know that Joe Burrow had a serious injury last year, you're always skeptical of how an athlete's going to return. Maybe overlook the Jamar Chase factor this, because nobody expected him to have a historical start to his career as a rookie receiver. Of my lifetime, I'm trying to remember a rookie receiver who was this dynamic from the get, right? And I know Justin Jefferson for the Vikings had a big season a couple of years ago as a rookie. It wasn't quite the start that this is. And you could see Jamar Chase quickly becoming one of the best receivers in the league, probably even by the end of the season, because he's been that good so far. We're talking about we're talking about potentially offensive rookie of the year, are we not?
I would think so, yes. And I actually had Najee Harris to begin the year. That kind of fell short, and I'm not feeling super great about that one right now, but it is what it is. But I would be shocked if anyone else gets this offensive rookie of the year award, because he is just, I think, shocking everybody. I'm not going to lie. I think he is shocking a lot of people. Last week we saw a performance from him that was just, it was a veteran performance is what it was. He was playing like he had been in the league for 5+ years. I mean, he looked incredible. So there's no reason that this award should go to anyone else. But yeah, I think he's definitely surprised people this year, because I was not expecting that at all. Clearly, because I put my money on Najee Harris, and that was the biggest dud of my life. So anyway.
I mean, we should stay there, because Steelers Browns, I mean, Baker Mayfield, I mean, he was playing pretty well, got hurt. He's back now. We don't know what percentage. And then there's also, the whole Odell Beckham, is he going to get traded portion of this, because the trade deadline is coming up. But right now, Steelers Browns, where are we sort of leaning here? Because this is a big look. This is a really big game for both teams. Who, like, aspirationally, they both want to win a division for obvious reasons. The Ravens are also there. Where are we leaning right now with Steelers Browns? Because this one is damn near a stay away for me.
I'm right there with you. And I think the aspect of it being such a big rival game as well is another reason why I want to stay away from it, just because these games, I don't know. I feel like this might be a game where you've got some weird calls and things might get ugly. And I don't know. It just makes me nervous. It does. I'm staying away from it from a betting perspective. But hot take, I would have rather seen Case play over Baker. I think his performance was excellent. Baker, to me, has not shown consistency whatsoever. I don't really see a Baker Mayfield that is showing any sort of progression at all. I really don't. I think he's kind of hit that plateau. I don't see him going anywhere in this direction, and that's sad to say, but it's just the truth, in my opinion. And Case was electric. I mean, I don't think people really thought that that's what we were going to get out of that game. I know, as a Broncos fan, I sure didn't think that that's what we were going to get out of that game. But to start and to be in a high pressure situation and to show up the way that he did and play the way that he did was incredible. So I don't know, maybe Baker coming back kind of throws off the mojo of this Browns team. And then, like you said, you've got the OBJ rumor circulating. That's a little bit of an emotional situation. So for whatever reason, if I'm seeing into the future, I feel like with this game, the chemistry from the Browns will be lacking, and I could see the Steelers winning. I could. It's a big rival game. I think the Steelers, for whatever reason, Big Ben has been showing up when he needs to. I mean, you need to every game, don't get me wrong, but
right, yeah.
They kind of seem to figure it out in a lot of situations, and I like this Browns team to have their chemistry kind of shaken up. Baker was out and now he's back, and OBJ, all these different things are happening. And I don't know. I think the Steelers team is going to figure out how to get a W here. I don't want to put my money on it because it scares me, but that's kind of how I feel like this game is going to go.
I mean, it's been ongoing. And I still don't know what the reason is that Baker Mayfield and OBJ have not been able to figure this out. Like, I looked at
they're not clicking at all.
Right.
I don't understand it.
And it's been an ongoing thing since they became teammates, which is weird because you would suspect that this would be the other way, because he's obviously the most talented guy on the team. But we're seeing Jarvis Landry have success. We saw Donovan Peoples-Jones get a couple touchdowns recently, and he looks like someone who's going to be a focal point in that offense. But for whatever reason, Odell Beckham, we remember how great he was with the Giants, and he hasn't been sort of able to replicate that here. And it hasn't been largely due to health reasons. Like, he's been, mostly healthy. I mean, he did have his setbacks and whatnot, but he's been available, and he's still only having games where it's like 2 catches for 27 yards roughly. People are dropping him in fantasy. My brother's in one fantasy league. He was telling me like OBJ's not even on a roster right now. And
who would have thought we'd be at that point? Like that, out of any guy, like I would never have imagined that he would kind of fall flat. And I don't think it's a talent thing. I don't think it's a talent thing necessarily on Baker's end or on OBJ's end. But I have always said, and this goes for every sport, I notice it a ton in basketball, of course, but I notice this for any sport. Talent is great. Skill is great. But if you don't have the chemistry, if you're not all on the same page mentally, talent doesn't matter. It just doesn't. I see that more so in basketball for sure, since that's such a superstar driven league, but chemistry is important. And that's kind of how I feel about this Browns team. Is last year they seemed to have really great chemistry. I don't know, they just it just doesn't feel right this year. They're not clicking, like you said with OBJ, like kind of a letdown a little bit. I think everyone had their expectations really high, and we're not really seeing what we expected to see. So I don't know. I could see the Steelers pulling off an upset just because this Browns team to me seems to have too many variables that are kind of question marks. They're in a gray area, in my opinion. Right now, they're in a gray area. Where the Steelers are either good or bad. There's no gray area for them. They either show up or they don't. And the gray area almost makes me more nervous because you don't know what you're gonna get. So I don't know. Makes me nervous. Again, it's one of those games where I look at and I go, I am not touching that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
But if I had to lean one way, I'd probably lean the Steelers just because the Browns have a lot of different variables that don't make me feel great. So we'll see. It's a big rival game, so it'll be fun regardless, I think. But
yeah, and I mean, one of the last 1:00 games we'll get to because we're obviously up against it almost. Seahawks Jaguars. I'm fascinated by this one because I know the Seahawks are pretty much done, but as somebody who lived through the Geno Smith experience and has actually really defended him throughout the course of his career because the Jets are a team that just ruin quarterbacks or whatever. Like the Jaguars are plus 3.5, and I feel like that is a stay away because this game can really go either way. Like, what if this is finally the moment where Trevor Lawrence like really wakes up and arrives? We haven't quite had that moment yet because the Jaguars have had, a lot of off the field stuff,
right,
sort of getting in the way of that. But, over under 44.5, one in the modern NFL just seems low, but two for both of these teams who can't defend. Like this is one of those games where it can be 31-27 or 13-7, I feel like. But where are we sort of leaning with Seahawks Jaguars right now and the Trevor Lawrence versus Geno Smith battle, if we want to sort of call it that? Is Pete Carroll actually going to let Geno Smith throw the ball? Because I think that's been an overlooked factor the last couple of weeks. And in terms of betting on them, if we're not expecting to get a lot of passing yards because they're running for 3 downs and then expecting, a long completion at some point, then how is this going to work out?
Well, we know that Pete Carroll has a very stubborn commitment to the run game for whatever reason. He's got one of the best passing QBs in the league, and he is the most stubborn coach when it comes to, I don't know. It doesn't make sense to me. I mean, you have Russell Wilson, for God's sake. It just doesn't make sense to me. It is what it is. I'm not the coach, so do what you want. I actually am on the Jaguars to cover the spread here. Hot take, maybe. I'm telling you, I'm riding with the dogs today, and that could either make me really excited or it could really hurt my feelings. So I get either one. It's Halloween. If I end up losing my bets, I'll just eat my sorrows and candy all night long. It is what it is. However, I am on the Jags to cover the spread in this one. My thought process behind this is this Seahawks team is just washed to me. I think they're at that point in the season where, like I said with Baker Mayfield, I don't see progression from the Seahawks team anytime soon. I just don't. I think in the beginning it was kind of like, oh, okay, they're warming up, they're not doing their best, but it's still the Seahawks, it's still Russell Wilson. Then Wilson's out. Now what? Like they don't have any weapons. In my opinion, they don't have an adaptable coach who's willing to change his coaching style to help this team progress. He has a very stubborn commitment to what he does, and he doesn't really seem to want to change that ever. So I don't see progression from the Seahawks team. I kind of feel like it's a wrap for them, which never thought I'd say that because, again, when you've got Russell Wilson as your QB, there's always hope, but we don't have him right now. And he got an injury where he's out 6 weeks. I could see that going a little longer. It is his hand, cold weather games as it starts getting cold. We know when you break a bone and it gets all sore and stiff and whatever, I think this is an injury that will affect him likely throughout the rest of the season. Not saying he'll be out, but I think it'll affect his game. I just don't see progression from the Seahawks team. The Jags, as bad as they are and as poorly coached as they are, they're coming off of rest. Their last game, they got a win. So they're kind of going to carry over some of that momentum, and I think they will have a little bit of a spark under Trevor Lawrence today. I think we have to remember Trevor Lawrence is good. He was just put in a really crappy situation. So his talent is there. He's very capable. It's just a matter of will he be able to pull through and get the job done up against this Seahawks team? But again, don't really trust the Seahawks team. Don't really trust Geno Smith all that much either. I hate to say it because my brother goes to West Virginia. My mom's side of the family is from West Virginia, so I hate saying that. But I just don't think I'm in a position right now to trust that the Seahawks team. I feel like the Seahawks. Okay, the best way I can describe it right now is the teams in the first 2-3 weeks of the season, of the regular season. They're kind of taking time to warm up, try to figure things out a little bit.
Yeah.
The Seahawks are starting to do that right now. Like they kind of had to hit the refresh button because they're out Wilson and they're just kind of put in a compromising position. They're winless at home. They haven't won a home game yet. So I don't know. I like the Jaguars to kind of carry over some momentum from their last win, and they just got a week of rest. So call me crazy, but I could see it. I could see us getting a cover here from the Jags, maybe even a win. I'm not that ballsy, but a cover from the Jags is what I'm riding with. So we shall see.
We have a couple more games to get to before 1:00. Cowboys Vikings, which is going to be one of the later games, obviously today. But
that game,
yeah, I mean, look, a lot of people are going to be paying attention to it because Dallas Cowboys. Look, whenever the Dallas Cowboys are good, a lot of people start throwing their money on them in a whole bunch of different directions. A lot of people start thinking Super Bowl. I don't know how far we're going to go down that road, but in terms of today, +2.5 the Cowboys are because they're in Minnesota. Money line is +118, over under 51.5. So that's right. You're right up against it if that's a 27-24 game. So
right.
Liv, where are we with it? I kind of want to put money on the Cowboys here because maybe that would just be more exciting if the Cowboys were to beat the Vikings.
For sure.
But I know my Giant fan friends would be pissed at me if I if I came with that prediction.
Well, yeah, I'm not a huge Cowboys fan myself. I mean, I'm a Broncos girl. I went to school at TCU, so I got to see the most obnoxious version of Dallas Cowboys fans in the whole world. But regardless, yes, this Cowboys team is undefeated against the spread. They look awesome. Both teams are coming off of rest. But Kirk Cousins and the Vikings at home, for whatever reason, they just seem to figure it out. Kirk Cousins plays out of his mind when he's at home in comparison to when he's on the road. And so this is one of those games where I'm excited to sit back and watch. Not so sure I'm excited to bet on it. I think I would enjoy the game more without a bet and just sitting back and enjoying it. I lean the Vikings to win here and upset the Cowboys against the spread streak, win by a field goal. But this Cowboys team, it's tough. They're coming off of rest too. They have a healthy version of Dak Prescott. Well, I think it was wasn't he on the fence about playing in this game? Wasn't he questionable for the majority of this week? So that obviously is a factor. Of course, if he ends up, being injured or whatever, then that's something to consider. But yeah, I don't know. I'm leaning Vikings here just because of how dominant they are at home. But again, it's one of those games where I'm like, I'll watch, but I'm not going to bet.
And then Monday Night Football. We'll end it here. Look, I'm with you.
The Chiefs are just a mess right now.
The New York Giants versus the most frustrating team in the NFL from a betting perspective, from every perspective really imaginable right now.
Yeah.
Patrick Mahomes, one of, if not, I believe he still leads the league in interceptions. If not, he's up there and has been all season, which is very uncharacteristic of him.
Very.
But there are some numbers that show that he's actually been quite lucky the last couple of years in terms of dropped interceptions. So that's very interesting. Playing against Giants secondary, who saw a lot of success against Sam Darnold and Carolina Panthers last week. So much so that Sam Darnold got benched late in the game. Kansas City Chiefs are still the favorites, and considerably so, -10.5. Giants +385 on the money line. If you want to get on that, the over/under is 52.5 for Chiefs Giants. So it looks like on FanDuel we're expecting Patrick Mahomes to wake up because it's a primetime game and because the Giants are still the Giants. But Liv, where are we at with this one? Because this is a frustrating team to bet on, as you eye roll to.
I mean, yeah, really. I'll start by setting it up with saying we haven't really had a blowout primetime game yet. We haven't. Sure. And I don't see the Chiefs being the first ones to give us that. I really don't. I'm at the point with this Chiefs team where I'll believe it when I see it type of energy. Like, they've been horrible against the spread for the majority of this season. They were that way last season as well. So I'm not going to ever bet the Chiefs to cover until I've seen that they've made some sort of progression. And I don't think they're in the position to do that right now. Would it really be a fun Monday night primetime game with a blowout? No, it wouldn't. It really wouldn't. And I don't think that we're going to see that. So I would lean Giants +10. I have loved betting the underdogs in prime time. They have been so fun to bet on. The Packers giving 6.5 points to Aaron Rodgers, by the way, is the most offensive thing in the entire world, in my opinion, because it's Aaron freaking Rodgers. So I was on Packers +6.5. That to me was too many points. I get it's the Giants, but Giants are solid on defense. And Patrick Mahomes looks absolutely horrible right now. So I'm going to ride with the dog to cover right now. And if something changes, I'll let you know. But for now, I am fading the Chiefs.
I'm not sure. You may have taken one favorite this week.
Yeah. No,
I
love the dogs. I love it. I think it's, I'm a dog girl for sure.
Yeah. All right, everybody, enjoy the games. Remember, follow, like, and subscribe. Fanduel on YouTube, on Twitch, on Instagram, on Twitter, and TikTok. Can't forget TikTok because
we're everywhere.
We're everywhere. Follow Liv on everything. Follow me on everything. Though I don't have TikTok yet. Some people are trying to get me to do that.
We'll get you on there.
Maybe at some point. You know what I mean? I'm not sure. I'm the demographic, but yeah, we can do that.
You'd be surprised. I think everyone is demographic for TikTok.
That's nowadays. A fair point. We'll we'll talk about that after the stream. But enjoy the games, bet responsibly, and look, it's week 8. We're almost halfway through with the NFL regular season already. So savor it while it's still here. Take care of yourselves.